Um, my name is Jenna. This is Books Love Jenna, as in those books, they just love her. And we're going to talk today about all of the gems that I pulled out of my reading and recorded in my commonplace book for January 2025. This is a new series and I'm calling it Good News because I'm focusing on really good things. I really want to pull out of my reading anything that it is informing me about faith, anything that it is informing me about love, anything that my reading is informing me about beauty, and anything that my reading is informing me about nature. Now, not everything that I want to pull out of what I'm reading is going to fall into those categories. So I also have another notebook. And yeah, I'm calling it Good News. Good News. So I'm going to do one of these a month. And this is the first one. And I'm not sure what this will become or what the format of this will be. I haven't really thought it through. I just know that in December, I decided I was really going to make a go of this commonplace book thing because I want to mull over impactful things that I'm reading. And I think fiction is some of the most impactful things. I mainly read fiction. I always read 2 or 3 nonfiction a month, but I mainly read fiction. And I think that story has so much to teach us about being alive and being with people and engaging in the world and who we want to be. And so here we go. I'm just going to dive in and look through what I chose to record. My process as I am reading is this now. I have my stack of notebooks with me and I'm reading. If I'm reading away from home, if I'm listening to an audiobook or I'm reading in my classroom or I'm reading on a commute or I'm reading while I'm waiting for something, because I'm out without people or whatever, I'll just mark it and come home and write it down. But if I'm reading at home, I have my stack of commonplace books right next to me. And when I come across something that I want to underline or tab, I actually stop and write it down. I decide in that moment which topic notebook does it belong in, and I write it down. And the process of physically writing it down really makes me stop and think. So I've opened up Nature first. And in Nature, there's only 2 quotes. One is from Dark Tides by Philippa Gregory, and the other is from A Circle of Quiet by Madeleine L'Engle. So I'll go ahead and read the quote about nature from Dark Tides by Philippa Gregory first. What is it? A post hole out here? It's a story hole and a signpost. Which is it? Both. Something happened here. Someone was injured during a hunt, or a man asked his wife to marry him, or a woman gave birth, or there was an accident, or a meeting, or something. So they make this hole at the end of the track so that everyone remembers what took place here. Then, when they're telling someone where to go, which track to follow, they tell them to turn at that story. So it's like a way marker, but a register as well. Yes, it's easy to remember and to teach the children. Their lives are mapped on the land, going back hundreds of years. The Lord only knows how long they've walked these trails. The story of their lives is on the land. Their history is their geography. Dark Tides, Philippa Gregory. My other quote is from A Circle of Quiet by Madeleine L'Engle. I see proof of incarnation everywhere I turn. Here in Crosswicks, I see it in the purple smoke of the mountains, the dark blue of fir trees against the green of maples and dying elms, the strong, sarksy stink of manure freshly spread on the pasture. In New York, I find it in the sight of a spindly, naked, dead-looking tree in the barren island on Broadway near our apartment, the bare branches suddenly bursting forth with magnolia blooms in the spring. What courage! I find it in snow, even deadly snow, falling past the lamps in Riverside Park, where we walk the dogs at night. For beauty, I have two quotes. One is from Praying with Jane Eyre by Vanessa Zoltan, and the other is from The Rent Collector by Cameron Wright. The quote from Praying with Jane Eyre: "The survivors get to tell the stories. The dead only have ghost stories by people who are trying to make meaning of their being gone. I believe in interrupted lives, lives that see little to no grace. And I believe in trying to create space for grace to come whenever I can." And I put that under beauty. The second one I put under beauty is from The Rent Collector by Cameron Wright. "In spite of my learning many new words since, I've never found a proper way to describe this feeling, except to say it is the same as waking up in a place you know is polluted and stained, but instead finding it covered in a cleansing blanket of white. A layer that does more than mark. When you dig down, all your filthiness, uncertainty, and fear have vanished, and instead you are encircled by pure and overwhelming love. The moments are infrequent in a hectic life that is still a constant storm of struggle, and yet when they occur, these moments are anchors. They keep me facing the right direction. I still awake every morning to a dump that is smoky, but through the smoke, I've seen some of the most amazing sunsets." For faith, I have 13, 14, 15. I have 16 for faith. I don't know if I'll read them all. Let's find out. From Praying with Jane Eyre by Vanessa Zoltan. "Her words were a prayer because she always said them, and because she did not need to say them, but she said them anyway." I like that. Well, I like them all. I don't need to say that. This one is also from Vanessa Zoltan. "We do not pray and do nothing else. We do not pray and expect it to work like magic. We pray like my mom said, be good, with a kiss, and with 1,000 other gestures. Prayer is part of a vast ecosystem of spiritual tools we have." This is from Conversations with Divine by Carolyn Mace. "Though you may be notorious for late entries, you always arrive." This is also from Conversations with the Divine by Carolyn Mace. "We are a mystical field of souls bound together through holy light. The entire cosmos is a sacred playground operated by holy beings. I imagine there is wisdom in our forgetting that, truth in drinking from the river of forgetfulness before we incarnate. Who could behold such a reality and still manage to get to work on time? You have left us with a constant craving, however, for something we cannot find on this earth. We crave awe." Also from Conversations with the Divine by Carolyn Mace. "We are seeking something wondrous we cannot explain, something that enters into our lives just when we need it to, right on time. We want to be left wondering, how did that happen? Could the impossible actually be possible?" From Chasing Whimsy by Bob Goff. "Are you avoiding an ambition because it's truly selfish or because you have a boatload of self-doubt? Remember, it's not selfish to exercise your gifts and chase the opportunities that God brings your way." Also by Bob Goff. "I want to be available to the things that God has already put inside me. We can't always control the opportunities that come, but we can decide to make ourselves available when they do. Start today by saying, God, I am available to these things that might come my way that uniquely sync up what you already made me good at." This is from Conversations with Divine by Carolyn Mace. "It was the grace of unquestioning, unreasonable faith that Jesus was referring to when he said that the faith of a mustard seed could move a mountain. We have become creatures of reason, driven by the need for proof and guarantees and immediate solutions. Faith in the divine defies everything such reason relies upon. And yet there is that part of us that cannot help but wonder and hope and want to be blown away by an unreasonable, incomprehensible miracle. We yearn for fully miraculous intervention at those moments when we need God's help the most. We may doubt at times that God is out there, and some may even claim not to believe at all, but a deeper spiritual truth pulsates in each one of us, We cannot stop ourselves from hoping that some presence, a power much greater than our reasoning minds can comprehend, is governing our lives. Also from Conversations with Divine by Carolyn Myss. Fear of the truth, of speaking the truth, of hearing the truth, of confronting the truth. Truth is the nature of the divine. Truth is power. We take cover in denial because we do not want the illusions we hold dear to be revealed. One encounter with a truth can bring down an entire stage of props in a second. As the Buddha taught, life can and does change in the blink of an eye. Such change occurs as soon as the power of truth comes in. And yet that power, that fire, liberates a person like nothing else can. Burdens are lifted from your shoulders even as the stage crumbles in flames. The spiritual journey is only about truth and nothing more. From A Circle of Quiet by Madeleine L'Engle. You can live life as though it's all a cosmic accident. We're nothing but an irritating skin disease on the face of the earth. Maybe you can live your life as though everything's a bad joke. I can't. Or you can go out at night and look at the stars and think, yes, they were created by a prime mover. And so were you. But he's aloof, perfection, impassible, indifferent to his creation. Then there's a third way, to live as though you believe that the power behind the universe is a power of love, a personal power of love, a love so great that all of us really do matter to him. He loves us so much that every single one of our lives has meaning. He really does know about the fall of every sparrow, and the hairs of our head are truly counted. That's the only way I can live. Also from A Circle of Quiet. Nothing important is completely explicable. Also from A Circle of Quiet. In the days before we could touch a switch and flood every section of the room with light, there were always shadows in the corner, shadows which moved with candlelight, with firelight, and these shadows were an outward and visible sign that things are not always what they seem. There are things which are not visible to the mortal human being. There are things beyond our ken. Ah, we've got 16 in this one too. I don't know if I'll read them all. We'll see. This is from Praying with Jane Eyre by Vanessa Zoltan. Love what you love unabashedly and do it with purpose. Love what you love well to learn to love your neighbor well, to learn to love your enemy well. But start with a book you love. And this one is actually a quote from episode 1, season 1 of Call the Midwife, which I started watching, rewatching again from the beginning. I had begun to see what love could do. Love brought life into the world and a woman to their knees. Love had the power to break hearts and to save. Love was like midwifery, the very stuff of life, and I was learning how to fly with it through all of the streets, like the river to the sea. This is from How to Walk Away by Catherine Center. Some kinds of wisdom can only be earned. I would never say the accident was a good thing. I would never claim that everything happens for a reason. Like all tragedies, it was senseless. But I know one thing for sure. The greater our capacity for sorrow becomes, the greater our capacity for joy. Also from How to Walk Away by Catherine Center. I think about you all the time. I can hardly sleep for missing you. I ache to see you and be near you. I love you with a longing I can barely contain, and I fear it is going to drown me. From Into the Uncut Grass by Trevor Noah. Every person is just an obstacle unless you try to understand them. It's like the way a gate can seem locked if you don't understand how it opens. From Lovely War by Julie Berry. And when she sobbed until her eyes were bloodshot and her nose ran, he gave her a handkerchief and took advantage of nothing but the chance to say wordlessly, "Here, you've been carrying that alone for a long time. Let me carry it with you a while." Also from The Lovely War by Julie Berry. It was Archimedes of Syracuse who first said that the shortest distance between 2 points was a straight line connecting them. Far be it from me to ever cast a shadow upon the wisdom of a Golden Age Greek, but Archimedes had it wrong. The length of the straight line between two people who don't admit they're in love is infinite, especially after months apart. But they got there eventually. Also from The Lovely War by Julie Berry. There she goes. James closed his eyes, then opened them again because he would rather hurt than not watch her walk away. Also from The Lovely War by Julie Berry. Poor mortals, I feel for them. That evening in Paris couldn't be described in its full richness, its second by split-second splendor, not if they spent decades trying to tell it. And that's just one of their nights. They rack them up by the thousands, yet still get up each morning and tie their shoes. You have to admire them. They are so very brave to keep on living. Surprise, surprise. Also from The Lovely War by Julie Berry. You are charged with being capable of love and of being loved if you would for once look at me and know who I am. This one is from Dark Tides by Philippa Gregory. He shut his eyes on the memory of the green water pouring from her mouth when they turned her limp body on her side. I failed you. He found that he was on one knee before her, his head bowed. I failed you terribly. I have never forgiven myself. She said, indifferently. But I forgave you almost at once. There was no need for you to set your own penance. I have served a hard penance. He looked eagerly upwards, wanting her to know that he too had suffered. I was restored to my home, to the lands that I loved, and I married, but my wife took no pleasure in our life, and she never conceived a child. I am a widower now. I am alone with no one to continue my name. And so now you come to me. Now I am free to do what I should have done that day. I am free to claim you for my wife, my beloved wife, to give you the home you should have had and the future you should have had. I'm sorry, but you're too late. I'm not too late. I am not too late. I never ceased to love you. I wrote to you every year on Midsummer Eve. I never forgot you. Not even when I was married did I ever forget you. I swore I would come for you as soon as I was free. Her dark gray eyes gleamed with inner laughter. Then you cannot be surprised that your wife took no pleasure in her life with you, she observed. He gasped at her sharpness of wit. Yes, I failed her too. I am a failure. As a lover to you and as a husband to her, I have been wrong since the day I desired you. I was like Peter. I did not own you when I should have done. The cock crowed, and I did not hear. She made a little tutting noise. It was not the Garden of Gethsemane. I was not crucified. My heart broke, but now it is healed. Go and live your life. You owe me nothing. A Circle of Quiet by Madeleine L'Engle. A Russian priest, Father Anthony, told me, to say to anyone I love you is tantamount to saying you will live forever. And then we have other, and this is going to be a pretty mixed bag. I think this is where I have the most. 1, 2, 3, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 22, 23, 24, 26. We'll see how many of them I read. How to Walk Away by Catherine Center. Everything's a mess, a crazy, galloping, heartbreaking mess. You can't fix everything, not even close, but you can look for reasons to be grateful. More than that, you can work to create them. Pride, Prejudice, and Other Flavors by Sonali Dev. The thing about human beings is that they heal. We are nature's creations. We regenerate like the seasons. We just need someone to let us know that we're worthy of healing. The healing, the changing, that you can only do for yourself. From The Rent Collector by Cameron Wright. People only go to the places they have visited first in their minds, she says, uttering the phrase as if secrets to the universe have just been shared. Perhaps that is how learning can help you. However, first you must see it, feel it, and then believe it. When you do, where it takes you may surprise. Also from The Rent Collector. When I was a child, my father visited a faraway country on business. When he returned, he presented me with a tin that contained a cake. He told me that it was special because it was the custom of that country to mix a small toy in the batter and bake the toy into the cake. The toy was supposed to be a surprise, though perhaps he worried that I would bite into it or break a tooth, or that I would swallow it and choke. Either way, knowing that the toy was there, I began to pull the cake apart, shoving pieces into my mouth, gulping it down, all the while looking for that silly prize. Did you find it? I found it near the bottom. It had been baked into one of the corners, but by the time I discovered it, I had eaten almost the entire cake. By yourself? Yes, of course, but that's not the point. The point is that I ate my cake so quickly and with my heart so intent on finding the toy that to this day I couldn't tell you the flavor of the cake. I can't describe the texture. I can't say if it was delicious or bland. I can't even remember what country it came from. Do you know why? Because you were focused on looking for the toy. She sighed again, but this time with relief rather than despair. I bite my tongue to remind my pride to stay seated. Yes, she says. Literature is a cake with many toys baked inside, and even if you find them all, if you don't enjoy the path that leads you to them, it will be a hollow accomplishment. There was a playwright named Heller, American, I believe, who summed it up this way. He said they knew everything about literature except how to enjoy it. Also from The Rent Collector. I had colleagues who would dissect and quantify the stories as though the paragraphs were laboratory frogs. They would split the sentences apart, dig through their insides, write up theories about why and how and when, but in the end, where the letters all settled, their answers often pointed to something deeper. It would make them crazy. I'll admit that at times it still makes me crazy. When you say deeper, are you talking about the ancestors? I am talking about the constant nature of truth. Look at Buddha's philosophy. It's about the path and our journey. That's what his teaching of the Noble Eightfold Path is all about. Do you see what I mean? Have you ever found a classical book of literature that isn't about a journey, whether actual or within? There isn't one. We keep writing the same plots with the same characters, teaching the same lessons. The original idea is so intrinsic, inherent, and ingenious, so fundamental to our existence that we can't help but be drawn back. Our trials, our troubles, our demons, our angels, we reenact them because these stories explain our lives. Literature's lessons repeat because they echo from deep places. They touch a chord in our soul because they're notes we've already played. Plots repeat because from the birth of man, they explore the reason for our being. Stories teach us to not give up hope. They teach endurance because in our lives we are meant to endure. They carry messages that are older than the words themselves, messages that reach beyond the page. From Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. Because this is a book about power, where to find it and how to use it. Power is a brutal topic, and in today's world, having power over yourself and power over others is the only topic worth knowing. Knowledge is a kind of power, and the knowledge you find in this book will help you find power inside yourself. Power is not a material possession that can be given. Power is the ability to act, and that must always be taken, for no one will ever give that power to you. Those who have power wish to keep it, and those who want power must learn to take it. That sounds really awful without context. Also from Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. Everything must be faced. You cannot hide from your problems, nor rely on witchcraft to solve them. In fact, witchcraft will create more problems for you because a witch is responsible to her coven, and their problems become her own. But so does their will, and no obstacle can stand in the face of a witch's will, or the will of her coven. Nothing can resist them. No problem remains unsolved. No wrongs go unavenged. And also by Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. It is only by failing that magic works. The ancient alchemists knew they were unlikely to turn lead into gold, but they also knew that in their attempts they would make profound discoveries. Nothing in magic is gained by aiming for it. As in life, it is the failure that proves to be the most valuable, because it is in failure that you learn anything useful about the world or about yourself. and also from Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. Magic works as it works, and it follows the longer road. A spell may take a lifetime to show results, but have faith, believe in what you have done, because anything executed with your will and craft is something that cannot go wrong. You may not recognize the spell as it shapes you. Its working may be subtle and unfold over years, but trust in yourself and trust in your coven. The spell you need may not be the spell you cast, but the working of a witch are never in vain. The workings of a witch are never in vain. From A Circle of Quiet by Madeleine L'Engle. I am part of every place I have been. All these places I have ever walked, talked, slept, have changed and formed me. I am part of all the people I have known. I am still every age that I have ever been. And from Maisie Dobbs. Coincidence could simply be what it appeared to be. Two events connected to each other by the thoughts and experiences of a person. But also, pay attention to coincidence. Coincidence was a messenger sent by truth. So, that's the good news from this month, and I'll check in next month with another round of good news. In the meantime, let's go read.